Hi, it's Alaska Granny. Whether you're a brand new prepper, someone who's adding to your stockpile, or just someone who's already prepared but you are uncertain what the future is and you're trying to make sure you're doing your best, today I wanted to talk about the best bulk food for long-term food storage. We go to the canned and packaged aisles, we find that a lot of the foods that we may have bought before are not as readily available, or the price is extremely inflated. Making sure that you have a supply of the longest lasting bulk food can really make a difference in long-term emergency survival situations. No one really knows what the future holds, but we do know that there are global food crises. Food insecurity and hunger can be a reality at any time. The best strategy for the least amount of money is to find the longest lasting bulk foods. What are the top foods that we can find that are inexpensive and easy to store for the longest amount of time? We know about beans and rice. White rice can last for at least 30 years, and the same with beans. There are lots of different varieties of beans. Place them in a pot, add water, and cook them until they're done. If you have kidney beans, those need to be soaked and the water poured off and more water used because they have some sort of a chemical in them that can actually be poisonous. So I will buy kidney beans in a can, but I don't try to store a lot of them simply because they require an extra step in preparation. In a long drawn out emergency, you may not have additional water for soaking and pouring out, and then more water for cooking. So I try to limit the amounts of resources that I need to provide the basic foods. Lentils and split peas are also great. They're full of protein, just like beans, but you don't need to soak them, and they don't take nearly as long to cook. It can take all day to cook pinto beans, black beans, white beans, and it can take an hour or two to cook your lentils or split peas. That's also a way to add variety to your best bulk food storage that'll last the longest. The next best food for your long-term food storage is oats. Oats can last for nearly forever, at least 30 years, as long as you store them in a cool, dry place. They're easy to prepare. You can even make overnight oats. You don't even have to cook them. You can add water and let them soak overnight. There are all kinds of recipes out there of all kinds of additions, but even if you had nothing else but some water and some oatmeal, you could still provide an emergency meal. It may not be your favorite meal, but it could certainly fill you up in times of hardship and need. Sugar is a great food to store long term, but you need to keep it dry. If sugar gets damp, it turns into a solid rock, and it's almost impossible to chip it all apart to use it. So store your sugar in an airtight container and it'll last for decades. The same thing with salt. We need salt in our diet. Lots of times we don't even think about the additions of salt because so much of the foods that we eat on a regular basis are processed and include a lot of sodium. The same as sugar, salt needs to be kept in an airtight container. I've had salt stored in just the cardboard container out at my granny camp, which is my Alaska off-grid remote cabin, and when I came back after the winter time, it had absorbed so much moisture it was as hard as a rock. The next best bulk food for long-term food storage is pasta. Pasta can last forever. You do need to store it in a container where it's airtight and it can't be chewed on or infested, but it can last forever and ever. I've said in many of my videos that I've stored pasta long term and used it 15 years after I purchased it, and it still was perfectly fine. You also need to pay attention to the types of pasta that you want to store. Egg noodles are not going to be the same as pasta or macaroni because it has eggs in it. So if you want to have a supply of things like egg noodles, make sure that you rotate them sooner than you would things like spaghetti, macaroni, linguine, or penne pastas. These are all great bulk foods, dry foods that you can store for a long, long time, but when you bring them home, what do you do with them to make sure that they're going to last as long as possible? If you want to store rice, make sure that you get white rice. Brown rice has oils in it and it will go rancid after several years. You can still have brown rice in your food storage stockpile, but you need to rotate it and use it up in a shorter amount of time. One of the strategies for rice is to make sure that it doesn't have any weevils in it. Place the bag in the freezer for a few days so it'll kill anything that's living in it. Then take it out and let it thaw out completely. I also do the freeze and thaw with my pastas, but I don't worry about it with the other ingredients. It's grains that you have a problem with, the pantry bugs. I've never had a problem with weevils or bugs infesting my food storage, but it can certainly be a problem, especially if you live in a warmer climate. Then you need to package your bulk foods so they last. One of the strategies is to get a bucket. Sometimes you can get the food storage buckets for free at the grocery store. You can go somewhere like to the hardware store and you can buy a 5-gallon bucket. You can also find them at places like Walmart, and then you can also find the lids. When you buy the lids, make sure there's the rubber ring gasket around the inside of the lid. That's what's going to seal it so that it's airtight. If that's missing, you're not going to be able to seal out as much of the air as you want. So look carefully when you choose your lids. If you have extra cash and you can find them, look for the Gamma lids. It's a 2-part lid. The ring snaps around the edge of the bucket, and then you can open and close it with the tight-fitting Gamma Seal lid. It has a rubber ring. It seals it up airtight, but you can easily access the food in the bucket. If you're just sealing your bucket with a regular lid, make sure that you get a bucket wrench. Once you seal it up tight, it can be extremely difficult to get it open, but if you have the bucket wrench, you just put that along under the tab, pull it up, and it's easy to open your bucket. If you don't want to go with the bucket simply because they're too big, they're too bulky, or you don't have that much food, you can put your food into mason canning jars. Fill it up, put on a lid and a ring, and that can be enough. Or you can add an oxygen absorber and then tighten up the lid. Or if you have something like a Food Saver jar attachment vacuum sealer, you can vacuum out the air in your jars. They're going to be fine if you don't have oxygen absorbers or a food vacuum. They're still going to last for many years. You don't need to worry about that. If you can't get those things or can't afford them, you can still seal them up in the jars and put them away in the cool, dark pantry or in your storeroom, wherever you choose to store your foods, and they're going to last for many, many years. We don't want to fall into an attitude of gloom and doom, but we don't want to be complacent. You want to be ready to take the next step to make sure that you provided the things that you need to the best of your ability. Then it doesn't matter what comes along. You have foods that are shelf stable, they'll last for years and years, and you'll have enough of the things you need to help you through whatever situation comes your way. If you liked my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else who might enjoy it, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.